Yeah, let's go.
The Sports Wrap. He's George. I'm Ringer. Well, here it is, last day of September, George.
Lots of sports.
We're outside.
Yes, isn't it beautiful? 80 degrees.
He's got shorts and a t-shirt on, and I would too if I wasn't breaking up my day from shingling. Because it's too nice not to be shingling on a day like today, right? Goodness.
Oh, no, I'd like to have somebody doing my shingling up there. I'd watch them all day, but, that's a long ways up. So,
I'm not interested in climbing up on top of yours.
No.
I'm really not interested in climbing up on my daughter's either. Unfortunately, they've allowed me not to have to climb up there too many times, but
well, they don't want to spend the rest of the day over there in emergency. So it's
I had a little. That must have been Sunday or Monday morning. I hit a little patch of water and ice, and ended up ripping a couple of shingles off because I was going down the roof. And after that, I've been a little edgy.
Well, when it gets hot and it gets 80 degrees up there, those tiles, they get a little soft.
They get a little soft.
And so you got to be careful up there. No, no, she doesn't let me 2 feet off on a stepladder. So
good idea.
Yeah. No.
So you want to start with the good part of the football or the bad part of the football? Where do you want to start?
We could start either one. I don't care.
Let's start with the good stuff.
Let's start with the good stuff.
Because maybe we won't be in such a bad mood when we talk about the bad stuff.
Maybe, yeah.
So, are the Vikings one of the best 1 and 2 football teams in the NFL?
Well, they sure were on Sunday. They had just a good, beautiful all-around game, and I ordinarily, and you and I always say the quarterback, there's 11 people on the team, the quarterback is but one. But I tell you, the Viking quarterback, Cousins, this is as good a game as I've seen him play.
Well, some people are out there saying, he's the MVP of the league right now, and I think those are kind of strong words.
Yes.
I mean, I think that's maybe going overboard a little bit, but he's been on, and I hate to say it this way, but this is the way he's played pretty much since he's gotten here. I don't even want to.
We've even got fans, yeah.
I don't even want to say that he's playing better than he did last year or the year before. He's playing pretty much exactly the same.
He has.
It hasn't changed. So this whole thing of he's playing well, yeah, he's doing what he's always done. I don't see different. The thing that scared me was when Delvin Cook didn't play. And then Alexander Mattison came out and did exactly.
I knew Mattison was this good of a running back, and in fact, there are times that
he's as good as Delvin Cook.
Well, he is close.
Let's trade that son of a gun.
No. I ain't saying that. No. Don't be foolish.
Don't be foolish.
His style and Delvin Cook's style are somewhat the same. And I mean, and when he was at, he's from Boise State, so I kind of got a little in thing on there. So yeah, so he comes on, but I knew that he was going to sooner or later hit it, and he did on Sunday.
I think the point I want to make on that is, yes, they are similar backs, but that tells me that Delvin Cook isn't the reason why we were able to run the ball. It isn't Alexander Mattison the reason why we ran the ball. It's because of the offensive line.
Well, there you are.
Who played so horrible week 1.
Yeah.
And what changes did they make? Did they seem to play with a lot more tight end? Conklin was a big target.
He was.
He was on the field quite a bit. So I know somebody either on the radio or the TV, I don't remember where I saw it, said something to this effect. When Seattle played Tennessee the week before and Tennessee beat them in overtime, Tennessee exposed Seattle's defensive weakness of the play-action pass and the screen game.
Exactly.
And that plays right into what the Vikings do.
You got to have a play-action, otherwise it's not going to work. So you might as well be Army.
Jeez. Well, it's not quite. Anyway.
We'll go there later.
Yeah. So, I mean, to me, the Vikings, the Vikings played nice. I think they've played nice all 3 weeks. I think I've said that. Somebody said, don't you dare say they're only 2 plays away from being 3-0. I'm here to tell you they're only 2 plays away from being 3-0. That missed kick, we don't need to bring that up again, but we did. To me, that it's a game winner, and more often than not. And the week before, Delvin Cook was down. I don't care what the referees say. and Joseph would have hit the game-winning field goal then too. So to me,
Well,
they're yeah.
Speaking of the NFC Central, did you see our friend Aaron Rodgers play on Sunday night?
I watched about 3 plays and then I went to bed.
Did you?
I had to make a choice on whether I was going to stay up and watch it or I was going to go to bed, and I think I took the better of the two. Well, I'll say this: how does a team that played as well apparently as the Packers did in the first half when they were up 17-0? I think if I looked the next morning, they were up 17-0, and then lose the lead, and then they make it sound like he played so well in the comeback that he drove them 37 yards in 37 seconds, and I'm just like,
well, it was closer to 60 yards, and it was 27 seconds. But he really was. And keep in mind, the 49ers are not a bad football team.
But the thing is, he was up 17-0. What did he do between 17-0 and 28-27 for? It looked like about 2.5 quarters.
He didn't get on the field very much.
Oh,
San
okay.
Francisco was busy
all right,
scoring.
See that explains it.
But he never lost control of that game. And when you're down, when you're down a field goal, or you're down a point, 2 points, and you got 29 seconds, and you got that whole football field. He never panicked once. He hit 2.
Well, he has been there once or twice.
Oh, he has, and everybody just kind of said, okay, all the bad things I said about him over. No, he looks really good, and and I mean, I waited for Jimmy Garoppolo to twist an ear or something, so Lance could get in, but that didn't
never
happen.
He never didn't get a play.
Well, he got one play.
One play,
but he's not going to be the starting quarterback this year. This is Jimmy Garoppolo he's kind of the man. He plays.
Okay.
He's you got to remember about he was Belichick's favorite. Belichick drafted him and moaned and groaned. I understand when he had to get rid of him. But
I think he'd like to have him back now.
Oh, I think you would too. Oh, very much.
Yeah. Well, we'll talk more about that.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. Anyway,
how about the 66-yard field goal?
Did you see that thing?
I saw it once because I saw it bounce and hit the crossbar.
Yeah.
But did you see what happened just prior to that?
No.
Well, this was the big deal on ESPN on Monday morning or Sunday night or whenever I saw it. It was Monday morning because they showed the clock, and on the play previous to that play, they threw an incomplete pass. But at least 2 seconds passed when the play clock ran out.
Oh, yeah, I think
so there was should have been a 5-yard penalty on Baltimore, which would have made it a 71 and obviously they probably wouldn't even have tried it from 71. But congratulations, he went out and nailed a 66-yarder. It was right down the middle. It had every whatever. I know I was over at my daughter's. We were standing there putting the roof on, shingles on, and Jimmy Peterson was there, and he's got his phone out, and he's like, he's giving us, as it's getting close to 3 o'clock, he's like, this is going on. He goes, well, it looks like Baltimore is going to go down, and he put his phone away, and he pulls it back out, and he goes, nope, Baltimore just won it. They kicked a
66-yard field goal.
Oh, boy.
I remember, there was a time in my experience, I was a sailor, and I was sitting in the galley, and this guy comes in, and he says, you should have seen this Dempsey. He just kicked a world, and I can't even remember, like
63
yards.
63-yarder.
And I, no kidding. And finally it got down, I was in such disbelief that he had to say, I'll bet you $100 right now. Well, then I realized, hey, he ain't going to do this unless...
Yeah, in 1970, $100 was like $500 today.
Yeah, I guess
when you're a sailor, $100, that's nothing. That was just,
I try to get away with that now.
Yeah, Dempsey's record stood for so long, 63. I mean, this dates me. I was born in 1969. That field goal was in 1970.
Yeah.
And remember, he kicked that from the 37-yard line because the goalposts were still on the goal line, not on the end line. But anyway, that 63-yarder stood for like 25-plus years before somebody tied it.
It was a heck of a kick, and as you remember, he had a foot deformity. He had a club as much as he had a foot. And when he basted that sucker, boy, it went nothing but through. And, everybody just like, whoa. it's stunning when that happens.
It's stunning when that happens.
Yeah.
And, of course, Detroit was the victim of the Baltimore field goal, and so you have to feel a little bit for Detroit. The Motor City Kitties are 0-3, and unfortunately, I can only say that the Vikings are only one game ahead of them, but they have found awful ways to lose over the last 10 years, going all the way back to the Kelvin Johnson catch, no catch. Did he roll? Did he have possession? Which started all this crap about getting to the ground and whether you have possession or not. And there has been, if you go online, I'm sure if you typed in Detroit Lions losses at end of games, there's like 12 different losses over the last 12 or 13 seasons where Detroit's been kicked right in the old proverbial where.
Well, and I don't want to vary too far off this path, but their old quarterback Matt Stafford, he had himself quite a Sunday.
Well, and here's the scary part. I don't know how people feel about Jared Goff. Okay, I still think Jared Goff was a good selection. I think he's still a good quarterback.
Yeah.
Matthew Stafford's been a good quarterback too along the way. To me, they traded parts. I'm not exactly sure that maybe the technicalities of it all, but to me, they kind of switched two quarterbacks that are kind of the same. But now people are saying, and the prognosticators are saying, that the LA Rams are the best team. Power rankings, LA is the best team. The Rams are the best team in the NFL right now. And I'm like,
well, that's true.
I don't know if I want to buy that.
And I mean, the reason I can buy it is I also watched Aaron Donald play football, and he was so incredibly dominating he was in Big Tom's face all day long, and he was just just beside himself. They were how are you going to block this guy? There were times that he was given 3 people to cover him, and he was breaking through. So these big tackles, and I'll tell you, not to even very too far off of that, Cleveland's coming to play Minnesota, and they got some running backs and a couple of linemen, nasty-looking types.
And when the Vikings win on Sunday, George,
yes,
people could say they heard it here first.
Okay. Well, and actually,
I think Cleveland should be nervous coming home, and Stefanski coming home to play in the Dome. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a great game on Sunday.
It's going to be a great game.
I'm hoping I'll get to sit down and watch maybe a little bit of it. That would be great. And but I think right now the NFL is there's some things out there that are going on. The team that I picked to go to the Super Bowl out of the NFC, the Seattle Seahawks, are 1-2.
Yeah.
And I'm not nervous yet because I think Seattle still is a good team. You got to remember, Seattle was up 17-7 on the Vikings.
Yes.
With 11 minutes left in the second quarter. So obviously something changed in there. What happened? What changed? I don't know what it is. But Seattle can be explosive, and I still think come playoff time, Seattle will still be in the.
Wilson is a great quarterback. He's got super wide receivers. They got good running backs, and they play a pretty serious defense as well. I think that they can be beat, and I think the Vikings can beat them, or a lot of teams that can beat them. But right now, and I go back to L.A., Stafford fits the L.A. thing. They like this feeling of Mr. Hollywood type thing, and I'm not sure Goff ever had that, or although he did 1 year. But I think Stafford's he's going to be able to throw that long arm of his.
There's still the honeymoon is the word. I was going to say holiday.
Yeah.
There's still the honeymoon period.
Yes.
The first game he screws up, and then everybody's going to be like, "Oh, I told you it was the Detroit Lions." Hey, do you realize that the Chiefs and the Vikings have the same record?
I know it. Yeah.
The Chiefs are
They are two-game losing streak.
They're 1-2, obviously, and they. I didn't catch it. They flashed it across the screen. This is the first time Kansas City's had a losing record in the last 6 seasons.
Yeah.
So it's kind of scary. I don't think anybody's pushing the panic buttons, except Andy Reid going to the hospital from the game on Sunday. Maybe freaked a few people out.
Yeah.
Obviously, the stress level is quite high, but hopefully they'll get things straightened away.
Well, I think they probably should. I mean.
Yeah.
They're just there's too much talent on that Chiefs team.
And they played some tough teams.
They do play some tough teams, and in fact, this year is really getting back to an any given Sunday type deal.
I agree.
I agree.
So
there's just so many really good players out there. So
I don't think well, I think we've kind of already taken care of this part of it, but I don't think there's a 14-3 team. I don't know if there's a 14-win team out there.
no, I don't think there is
maybe
either.
13, maybe 12 with the 17 game. You might get there, but I just don't think it's there.
There's I don't know where to get my Vikings thing here. There's some good games this weekend, though.
Okay.
We got Tampa going up to New England. That should be interesting.
It should be interesting. I don't think it's going to be much of a game.
No, it probably not.
And that's why it loses the interest. I think if New England was New England of old, it would be must-see TV. But considering that the Patriots are, Mac Jones was 30 for 51. That's not bad.
No.
But he threw 3 picks, and I think 2 of them got returned for TDs, which obviously means that things aren't going right. But he completed over almost 60% of his passes for a rookie in his 3rd game in the NFL. Most people wouldn't look at me as an optimist, but when it comes to quarterbacks, I am, because I don't think there's a lot of difference between a Kirk Cousins and some of these other quarterbacks. I really don't. I think like Stafford and Goff switching spots. To me, it's like they took this guy, and they switched chairs. And,
so what do you think about Justin Fields' start?
Wow, boy! All I would say to people about that is, and I enjoyed the heck out of it, because I got up, and I don't usually watch Get Up on ESPN on a Monday morning. But I had the fortunality of whatever the situation is and everybody, I don't care if everybody knows, but I tested positive for COVID, so I've got to spend some time at home over the last 10 days or so, which really kind of drives me crazy, obviously. Most people understand that. So I've had an opportunity to watch Get Up in the morning a couple of times.
That's with Stephen S.
That's before Stephen S.
Before Stephen S. Okay.
I won't watch Stephen S. and whatever his show is called and the Kellerman thing and what. Anyway, here's the thing. They went after not Justin Fields, okay, but they went after Nagy. They went after the coach.
Yeah.
And you have this guy who's a superstar, and you don't design a game plan to utilize him. They said that they had him only roll out once in the first 2 quarters or 2.5 quarters.
If he can't be mobile, he can't take that kind of punishment.
They sacked him 9 times.
Yes.
They had 1 net yard of passing. I think he had 69 yards of passing, and he had 68 yards in sacks. So the Bears had 1 net yard of passing, which they said was the lowest ever for the Chicago Bears, which has got to be the lowest ever for a lot of teams. So they didn't get after Justin Fields, who I still think is a good college quarterback. Will that transfer into the NFL
that
level?
We don't know.
That's you're right. That we don't know.
That we don't
but
know.
It was interesting that these 3 guys went absolutely after Nagy, the coach, on how you could possibly not have a better game plan. So I won't throw Justin Fields under the bus. I don't know. I didn't watch the game, so I don't know. But
well, you couldn't see if he had any skills. He was just so overpowered. He got hit from every direction. Yeah. The offensive line from time and later in the game just really kind of folded up. They to say that they had little offense would be a good thing to say. They had no offense.
No offense.
And
and of course they right after they got done talking about it on Get Up about that, they went after the New York Jets and how awful that Mike Greenberg, Greenberg, is that right? Yeah. He said, bring back Adam Gase because it wasn't this bad. The Jets are horrible. So, hey, maybe they'll go 0-16 instead of the Detroit Lions because, frankly, I don't think the Detroit Lions are going to go 0-16.
Oh, no, and there's some people on that, I know at least one guy on the Detroit Lions who's an all-pro caliber offensive center, and it's just like, if the rest of the team is of that caliber, there's got to be more talent than what you see.
Let's talk about the Gophers.
Okay. I think I have it written down here, something about it was one of the most inexcusable losses in program history.
Well, there's been a lot of football games for the Gophers in the last 100+ years. To say that they were a 31-point favorite and lost kind of says it all. I remember when I was with the Gophers back in 90 and 91, and us losing to San Jose State. We lost to Utah. There were some pretty ugly losses in that time frame, but I don't know of any that were this bad. And I'm going to go back to it because I didn't watch a play of it. I listened to parts of it, but I'm going to say this. I turned the radio on. It's in the second quarter. Okay? We're up 7-3, I think, at that point. If I remember. No, we couldn't have been up 7-3.
7-0.
We were up 3-0.
Okay,
however it worked, 7-3.
And then they scored.
And we were on our 20. They said, Mike Grimm says, we're on the 29-yard line, and it's 4th and 1, and the crowd is begging Fleck to go for it. Let's see what he decides to do. And I'm like, oh, we're on their 29-yard line.
No.
Let's forego the field goal attempt. I get it. Let's try. If we turn it over, they got to go 70 yards or whatever it is, 70+ yards to get a touchdown. Well, needless to say, when they went for it and lost 3 or 4 yards, and then I found out that we were on our own 29-yard line, to me, that is a coaching error. It's a coaching gaffe. That is a coaching no. You don't go on it in the second quarter with a lead on your own 29-yard line. And I'm guilty of it because I did it against Crosby in 2001, and we got lucky and made it because me and you were coaching and we discussed whether we were going to go for it. It was the opening series of the game.
Yeah, I remember that.
And we did, and we luckily made it. And then I got, what's the right word? I got taken out to the woodshed the next day by a certain head coach who said you should never, ever do that ever again. And 20 years later, I still remember like it was yesterday. You do not go for it on 4th and 1 on your own 29-yard line with a lead or early in the game. You punt the ball.
Jim Malosky used to say, if you go for a 4th and 1 inside your 40, you're a fool.
There you go.
And so he never did it. I mean, on the other side of the 50, hey, we'll crunch you, but you do not want to give up that field position. That is giving away points.
And as soon as we turned the ball over, I think Miami was in the end zone in like 3 or 4 plays.
Yes.
And the whole momentum of the game turned. You gave Miami life, and the scary part was I turned it on like in the last 3 minutes of the game when we had the ball, and Morgan, who had an awful game, and people are calling for his head and his job and whatever else, he threw an interception with about 2:15 left in the game.
Yes,
I turned the radio off. Needless to say, I picked up my phone about 15 minutes later. We got the ball back.
Yes.
And we had a chance, and I'm like, what? And
it went down. But, I'll tell you, number one, the offensive line was not able to pick up Bowling Green's blitz. The defensive coordinator of Bowling Green should have got the team ball. He was all over Tanner Morgan, and Tanner Morgan was like, a 13 for 26 for 59 yards? 59 yards? Ooh, that's not going to work. And the other thing, of course, is, and we brought this up earlier, is he going to have the receivers that he's been used to? Because as we recall, we've had some really good ones, and thus far we're asking a bunch of freshmen and sophomores to do the job that all Americans
Chris Ottman-Bell was back, and he only caught one ball.
And then he got hurt.
And then got hurt, so obviously that had something to do with it. But for a team that absolutely manhandled Colorado on the road the week before, they had so much sunshine blowing up their butts all week by the press and their classmates at the University of Minnesota, and me included, and they bought every word of it, and they came in with their heads stuck up their butts about how much fun they were going to have homecoming night after they destroyed Miami of Ohio, and they didn't show up to play the game. So,
no, that's why they played that game. But when I go over and I got my my Lindy's magazine, and they says, Bowling Green is a team that's rebuilding. Well, it jumped a bunch, and so, but I saw defensively they really had a great game plan, and Minnesota had a chance, and they fumbled the ball, and and lost it with a couple of minutes left. I mean, there was nothing that they couldn't do that they could do right, and it was embarrassing. and and I mean, and so they can go down to Purdue, which is kind of an achy, breaky football team these days as well. And I'm not sure what they got going for them. I do know that Minnesota, if they're going to salvage the season at all.
So let me ask, what? just an opinion.
Yeah.
Which team shows up this Saturday in West Lafayette? The team that beat Colorado or the team that lost to Bowling Green?
Well, I hope it's the offensive line that can pick up their blitzes. That's the one thing. And right now we're drive blocking really well. And I hate to say it, but those great big linemen are just getting rushed right around. They're too slow. And it's that's kind of what I saw on Saturday. And I just thought, geez.
So which one shows up? Who do you think?
I think the Gophers are going to show up.
Okay.
Do you ever? I just remember down at UMD when you turned a really good play against the varsity, and everybody patted you on the back. And when they broke the huddle the next time, you knew it wasn't going to be that much fun anymore, because the coach just ripped them up, and they're going to come at you and they're going to stomp your brains in. And I'm hoping that Minnesota has this attitude.
They're not the team. They're not the team that lost on Saturday. So in my mind, a win in Purdue.
Yeah.
We get things going back in the right direction. It's just the way I feel about it.
Well, no, I agree.
You want to talk?
But they got to get some production out of the receivers. PJ Fleck is 0-17 when trailing at halftime. This I did
Usually
not know.
the sign of a great coach is a guy who can make adjustments at halftime.
I just saying, but a couple of shout-outs. St. Thomas beat Butler 36-0, first Division I win.
Congratulations, St. Thomas, you son of a guns.
Nationwide, North Carolina State, you should never go shake up their cage so much, because they came back and beat Clemson 27-21, and Arkansas beat Texas A&M. Arkansas is looking for a little bit of bidding, and Notre Dame kind of slap-kicked Wisconsin all over the place, 30-13.
I'm shocked that before we get too far away from Arkansas, I'm surprised how much love Arkansas has gotten. They're number 22 in the nation right now.
They are.
I mean, I understand. I get it, but man, I don't know. They were the cellar dweller of the SEC, just above Vandy, like 2 years ago. So
every 3 or 4 years, it seems to switch around.
Yeah, you always get a run of kids. They're going to get a wake up call soon too. They'll be
I didn't get a chance to see, but Michigan beat Nebraska 23-20. Michigan State beat Nebraska 23-20 in overtime. Must have been a dandy game. I'm telling you. Can Nebraska cut a break? I mean,
I hope they don't. Pickle and I will discuss that on Coach's Corner on Saturday morning, I'm sure, while we're chatting. Hey, I want to say this. Frost is going to make it to October, the head coach at Nebraska. He is going to make it to October. He's not. It's the 30th today. He will make it to October.
That's
I said
tomorrow,
he wouldn't.
yeah.
Looks like he's going to make it, and that one probably saved his job. Are you going to talk about your Bulldogs now?
I just got a couple of more scores before I get there.
Okay.
Augustana beat up BSU 52-24. This is going to set up a pretty good game between UMD. Army is 4-0, and they beat up Miami of Ohio, which you remember, and they dominated them 23-10. That was the very same team that Minnesota had such a rough time with. So I'm looking at that, and I thought, Army, you might meet a competitor. No, they have Jacoby Buchanan, who has never lost a yard on a third down situation. They have went through that ever in 4 years. He's incredible. So they play Ball State this week, and then next week they play Wisconsin. And I will be watching the Wisconsin Army game for sure.
I'll even go put my Army shirt on for that one. Beat those Bucky Badgers.
Yeah, I know. Anyway, Wayne State 31-28, and it was truly a heartbreaker. This was, in my mind, and I was watching this, and if I wasn't kind of a passionate Bulldog, I'd have felt, but it was just a great small college game, and there was just some super athletes down there. Minnesota Duluth could have won it a couple of different times.
Well, I think that's the thing about it, George, is that they I don't want to say Wayne State. I don't want to say nothing bad about Wayne State, but Wayne State didn't win that game. UND lost it.
Yeah.
They turned the ball over too many times.
Oh,
John Larson.
Five interceptions? He's never done that before.
Not his best day throwing the ball,
No.
and they I thought they fumbled it in the fourth quarter when I got home and I was flipping through the channels.
Well,
and,
they did fumble in the fourth quarter,
yeah,
right? I mean,
okay.
and then that's when they had an opportunity to win then, and so it was really a tough evening for him, and
yeah, it was a Saturday to forget, George.
it was a Saturday to forget. In fact, I went to the Blues show with the Blues that night,
And then you didn't even get to do
and I
that
didn't even get to play the Blues
because the Twins were still.
because the Twins were still on.
So does that get us into baseball?
Let's get us into
Yeah,
baseball.
let's move on here because we're probably getting.
The Twins got 4 games left.
Twins got 4 games left. They're going to win the season series from the Detroit Tigers. We can tell you that for sure. Even before they play Thursday night's game against them, 19 times they're 11-7, I think, right now. That just tells me that this isn't. There's parts there.
Yes.
Sano hit his 30th the other day. Polanco hit his 32nd or 33rd. There are some parts there. Joe Ryan gets the start tonight after coming off the bereavement list and getting hit in the pitching wrist with a batted ball. And
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing this kid pitch tonight, and I am going to watch the game.
I think he's going to get. I think he's still going to be on limited numbers. They do not want this kid being injured going into the offseason.
No.
He's going to get to throw about 80 pitches because the game means absolutely nothing. They're going to make sure that he doesn't do anything crazy. Last time Joe pitched, he ended up with 11 strikeouts in 5 innings. Do you realize?
Yes, he was throwing BBs.
No Twins or Senators pitcher, franchise history, that's over 100 years of baseball, I believe, or almost 100 years. No Twin or Senator pitcher has ever struck out 11 batters in 5 innings or less of work. And I mean, you're talking about Johan Santana and some of these other guys, Jose Barrios and Frankie Viola and Jack Morris and I don't even want to go back before my time.
This is an answer to what Ruschi used to say about the Twins not developing their pitching. Well, they developed this kid somewhere, and it's
well, yeah, he's the guy we got in the trade for your man Nelson Cruz from Tampa Bay. But there's your good friend Royce in the paper yesterday, I think it was, going after that. There's a lot of interesting baseball out there. Just don't watch the Twins.
Yeah, he's mad at the Twins.
You're such a. Oh, there's a lace.
Curmudgeon. He's a curmudgeon. You call him curmudgeon.
Oh, no, I want to go worse than that. And you guys can fill in the blanks that I just
If you would have
beat out
listened to him talk about the Gophers, you guys would have been like brothers.
I won't even. I read I told you this before. I'm done reading that jerk. Can't stand it. Anyway, I don't want to talk about the Twins. I want to talk about the rest of what's going on in baseball.
There is some serious baseball going on. What about the St. Louis Cardinals?
How about 17 straight going
Isn't
towards
that
the play?
something?
They finally lost last night.
Yeah.
I texted our good friend Jay Bartkowski and said, "Are your Cards ever going to lose again?" And he said, "Well, let's hope not to the Dodgers in the playoffs." And they took the stress off. They needed to lose one. They did. They need to go into the playoffs with a 21-game winning streak.
But the fact of it is how would you like to draw them on the first draw? They are the hottest team in baseball.
I don't see the Dodgers catching San Francisco.
No, I
guess
it
could happen.
They could.
But San Francisco with 4 games left is up by 2 games. It absolutely could happen. But I've got the Dodgers and the Cardinals already locked in for that wild card game. It's going to be a dandy. The Dodgers going to win maybe 105 games and might be out of the playoffs on the first night. That's
the
scary.
playoff system is. Yeah,
that's a scary
it's amazing.
Thing. And of course, I think it was on ESPN the other day, or no, it was our good friend Dick Bremer with the Twins who said the Dodgers could lose that game to St. Louis and complain about the fact that it's a 1-game series. And he said they shouldn't even be complaining. He said 15 years ago you wouldn't have even made the playoffs. They could have won 105 games and never made the playoffs because that's not the way that it worked.
Yeah.
And the Cardinals are tough right now.
And the Yankees.
The Yankees made a run. They beat Boston 3 weeks straight last weekend.
Oh, the tears that were flowing at Fenway was just incredible.
The scary part is, here's what's going to happen, George. And I know Seattle is a game out and Toronto's only a half game out. I know that. But it's going to come down to the Yankees and Boston because that's karma. That's the way this thing is going to work. They're going to be the 2 teams for the wild card, and they're going to have to go to Yankee Stadium to play. And Boston wins it because we probably won't be on. Boston beats the Yankees in the wild card game at Yankee Stadium. There's my prediction for the week. Woo. There's one that'll get things going. So
That will, indeed.
anything else baseball you want to talk about?
This is the week where it's all going to set up, and starting next week, baseball is going to get real interesting, and it's so I'm looking forward to some good games, and right now I have 2 computers and a television, and the other day I found a different sporting event on all of them, and I thought you can't be doing this.
I have to admit, because I have certain family members that watch this, and so I have to say this. Last year, when my dad's health was really failing, the only thing that he wanted to watch was baseball, the baseball playoffs. They had the Dish Network at the time, and the games were played basically 24 hours a day on replay, and that's all we watched. We watched baseball. So this fall, when the playoffs start next week, it's going to be hard not thinking about Pete and watching baseball, because we spent a lot of hours with the TV on baseball, because when he couldn't sleep, that's what he wanted to watch. Even if he had watched that game 4 times before, he couldn't probably remember that he had watched it before, but baseball was on, so it'll be an interesting October.
I had to take off of my recorded games that I had just a couple of weeks ago. I took off Joe Mauer's last at bat.
Ooh,
so It's been on there for a while.
It's been there for a while. Yeah,
So
Joe hasn't played for a few years.
Yeah, he's in the Hall of Fame. Yeah, it's just like, Anyway, hey, just a couple of things, notes here. The National Labor Relations Board declares college athletes are now school employees. Nobody's going to notice this. This is big time. This is big time.
Okay.
That's going to give these athletes a lot of protection that they wouldn't have ordinarily have.
I get what you're saying. Yeah. All right.
And then just this morning, the Minnesota high school ratings came out. I just want to whip through this. 6A is Lakeville and Wayzata, and 5A is Mankato West and Andover. 4A Becker and Rocori. 3A Cannon Falls and Lake City. Aiken's number 10 in the 3A. 2A Blooming Prairie and Blue Earth.
The Awesome Blossoms.
The Awesome Blossoms.
Can't beat that name for nickname, folks.
And that is a good one. And Moose Lake and Willow River, they're rated 7th. And 1A Murray County Central is 1st, and Minneota is 2nd. And in 9-man, Verndale is number 1, and Mountain Iron Buell is number 2.
That's going to be some interesting things. I'm sure all those things will change. I'm glad you did that, because I haven't looked. I know the QRFs came out earlier this week, but I haven't gotten to those yet this week. But obviously, it's getting to be that time.
It is, yeah.
Did you watch any Ryder Cup last weekend?
I caught bits and pieces of it, and it was
only bits and pieces.
Well, there were other things on, but
I thought you said you had 2 TVs and or something. Anyway.
Yeah, 2 football games and a tennis match.
Yeah, there you go. Hey, 19-9, the USA
they
beats
really
Europe.
took it to them.
That's the most points ever scored in this format.
Were you surprised? I mean, Europe's been holding the U.S. by the tail for a while.
Well, they obviously here. Let's talk about it just briefly. We don't really have enough time, but let's do it. Yes, Europe has won 9 out of the last 12. Okay, now 9 out of the last 13 after the loss, but the United States has won 2 out of the last 3. You have to look at the team Europe has had with the 2000s to where it is. Yes, we had Tiger. We had the best player in the world. Europe had the best player in the world this past weekend too, in John Rahm, and you see where that got him.
Yeah.
Tiger Woods was only one man. They had Phil Mickelson. There's 2 guys. This is a 12-guy thing. They talked about the fact that Stricker and the U.S. decided to change how they pick their players. And instead of having 9 automatics, there were only 6 automatics. So that Stricker and his team could pick the 6 hottest guys who were playing good golf.
All right.
So rather than this 2-year window, and you get points over this 2-year window, and here's 9 guys that maybe 3 of those guys are playing really good over here at the start and haven't played doodly squat at the end, but they get on the team because that's the way the things are. Now they brought it down to only 6 guys, and he gets to pick 6. So the United States had the number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think 7 was a European. 8, 9, 12, 13, like, I mean, come on. They had like 12 out of the top 16 players in the world playing
in one tournament for you.
And playing on one
Yeah.
side. I'm sorry, the deck was stacked. It's going to be fun in 2 years when they go to Rome to do this, because I think all these young guns
Yeah.
that they have right now are going to be back. Patrick Reed, who's a Ryder Cup veteran, even at his age, didn't make the team. I think he was probably ticked off. But even Bryson DeChambeau and Brooks Koepka hugged afterwards.
Koepka and DeChambeau.
They hugged in the post celebration. So winning solves a lot of ills. I don't think that's going to continue. But what I'm trying to say is Europe knows that they have to change how they pick their team, because they're still in that old mode of 9 and only 3 captain picks. This is going to change things so that you get the hottest players in there, because the
I
U.S.
guess this whole
absolutely.
thing kind of controlled the temperament of the tournament as well. Tempers seem to raise.
There were some
Exponentially.
there was some gamesmanship out there, some putts that were given and not given, and other things. That's part of the Ryder Cup. They showed on Sunday night or Monday morning, whenever I was watching the Golf Channel, they showed like 10 less than 2 foot putts that have been missed in like tournaments on Sundays. This wasn't like on a Thursday.
Yeah.
This was on a Sunday late when the pressure was on and people getting the yips. Well, this is the Ryder Cup, and there's 50,000 people out there. Even the best men's, women's players, I don't care, can get the yips, can get the Chuck Knoblochs, as I like to call them. And so whether you give a putt or not, hey,
It just happens. I mean, it just happens. That one pro asked one time, and he says, "Is a 3 foot putt? Is there a lot of pressure?" He says, "No." He says, "If you're playing a 3 foot putt for $100 and you don't have $100, there's pressure." And so
there's pressure.
That was Lee Trevino that said that. Should come as no surprise.
Couple other things.
Yeah.
The Wild signed Kirill.
They did. They started skating.
They started skating. They've already played a preseason game. They got another one tonight.
Yeah, St. Louis beat them up.
St. Louis beat them up, but with a bunch of guys that aren't. I read nothing into that 6-2
I don't
loss.
either.
They go to Colorado tonight. I will read nothing into that. Although Evason did go after Jordan Greenway and a few of these other veterans who took it like a first game of the preseason and didn't really show up when the game was 2-2. So he was not pleased about that. I read nothing more into it than it was the first preseason game.
I saw a nice picture of my friend Matt Dumba. He looked like he was ready to go.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah,
Why not?
yeah.
And of course, they did announce the tickets went on sale. I'm sure they're gone by the time we speak about this for the NHL game that's going to be played at Target Field on January 1st.
Oh, that's going to be fun.
They are moving that game to a 6 o'clock prime time game on NBC on New Year's Day.
They're selling jerseys for it. I mean, good $180 jerseys.
Sure.
They're great because
they know that
vintage things. St. Paul, Minneapolis. Yeah, no, it's.
What do you think of the Wolves firing their general manager, their president of operations, Gerson Rosas?
I think we're going to see some things out of the Wolves, some changes that we hadn't seen in a while. I think that I'm not sure that the new owners, not that I trust them at all. I think, the first thing they want's a new arena.
They probably need a new arena. The Target Center compared to some of these other arenas is like comparing the pyramids to anyway.
So anyway, if they can talk Minneapolis into building them an arena, I think they'd stick around for a while. If they didn't get something like that in a couple of years, they'd be gone.
That's that. And the thing about it, folks, and this is really the reality of it. Lore threw that out the other day.
Yeah.
Because that can be his reason for not keeping the team here.
Right.
The Minneapolis isn't going to do it. And I know people are probably going to get whatever. The way they paid for Target Field and the way they're paying for U.S. Bank Stadium, go build them another stadium. Leave Target Center up. Use it as a whatever.
I've had good concerts there.
Yeah. So I'm not worried too much about that.
And it seems like actually the Timberwolves, Of actually, I mean, I feel bad that they got rid of Ricky Rubio, but you know, did
You're
you
still on Ricky Rubio.
Did you see the way he played at the Olympics? He was amazing.
Yeah, how come he can't play that way when he puts a Timberwolves jersey
I
on
don't
for
know.
flip's sake?
Anyway,
It's like it's like his kryptonite. He puts on any other jersey except the Timberwolves jersey, and he plays like
Big, but Big Towns, he's going to come on. There's going to be some people here. I think the Timberwolves. What Timberwolves want to do is want to match the enthusiasm that the Wild has brought to Minneapolis, or brought to
Twin Cities.
Twin Cities.
Well, I'll tell you what. If they can go out and bring Ben Simmons in
Yes,
from the 76ers, a
wouldn't that
very
be nice?
unhappy man.
and they do need a point guard.
Yeah, and of course, you know, I'm not a big fan. Excuse me, of these guys who whine and complain and work their way out, a la Randy Moss. I don't like whatever. I'm not a big Ben Simmons fan, but having said that, he could be a piece of the puzzle that could put this team over the edge, put them into playoff contention. I don't think it puts them in an NBA title yet, but you put them out there with Anthony Edwards, the Cat, Simmons, and obviously you're going to have to give up some parts to get him. And I don't know how many of those parts, who's going to go, but there's going to be some parts that are going to have to go if they would get them. But boy, I'll tell you, it would be interesting.
Oh, I'm looking forward to getting them started and see where they go with this new team, because it's basically a new team. You know, I mean, they've never really had this team together between injuries and rookie, you know, problems. This team really has been brought together.
Timberwolves make the playoffs this year.
I think so.
They make the playoffs this year.
I think they will too.
Might be a number 9 seed, 8 seed, whatever they got. I think they're still playing that play-in thing for 7, 8, 9, and 10. So that anyway, even if they don't, the Timberwolves make it in. Yeah, they get throttled in the first round, but they make the playoffs.
We've got a generational change going on in all the sports, and the Timberwolves are just like that. They got young kids on there that want to play basketball.
Eternal optimist. You guys remember that out there, all
Yes.
those you naysayers that yeah. Anyway, any final thoughts?
No. You want to talk about tomorrow night's? Well, no.
Well, we can talk about tomorrow night's game because the Broncos, for the first time ever, play Hinkley Finlayson
This is the
Jaguars.
first time ever.
The Jaguars. How do you want me to say it? Because I should put out a poll.
Jags.
How people want me to say Jaguars.
Jaguars.
Because that's how I say it, Jaguars. That's how I say it. But if you watch the Jacksonville Jaguars tonight on the NFL when they play in Cincinnati, by the way, the last 2 number 1 overall picks,
Yeah.
playing the Jaguars. I don't know how you get that out of how it's spelled, but anyway, we'll see. Anyway, the Jaguars, for the first time the Broncos play, and we're going to get to go someplace new. And in a couple of Fridays, they play Rush City for the first time ever. So we'll have a couple of firsts, and hopefully the Bronco football team gets their first win tomorrow night as they take on Hinkley Finlayson Jaguars. And I have watched 0 minutes of tape on that, so I hope you've watched some.
Oh, I will have watched all kinds of it by then.
Hopefully tonight. Hopefully this evening we'll get to that. But.
Yes.
Any final thoughts?
Hey,
got his Mud
enjoy the
Hens.
week. This is, you know, the Mud Hens, they beat up the Saints last night.
Okay.
And so I thought, what are you going to wear for a shirt? And I don't have any Saints. So I thought, well, I'll put on the Mud Hens because I think the Mud Hens is a great name. It's not as good as Ice Dogs.
But the Dryden Ice Dogs. You're right about that.
The Ice Dogs is great, but the Mud Hens, hey, they're all right.
Yeah. And I was going to go somewhere. Mud Hens, name, Saints. Where was I going to go with it?
Well, I don't know. I hope
Dang it.
As long as it wasn't Johnny's, we don't care.
I don't know where we were going. Anyway, thanks, everybody.